All right, guys, so we got one of the possibly most exciting faction unity champions, much less gimmicky, I feel like, than the other ones. This dude is actually very solid and is 100% going to be welled out on over the next few days during his boosted event. So this lizard does some crazy damage, and you're going to see it in the background here. That was an A2 skill, but his A1 does basically the same amount of damage. So this is no decreased defense yet. Let's go target a head that does have decreased defense or weaken. Hopefully Lydia places it in just a moment. But in this team, I would legitimately use this champion in my Obro setup. That is an A1 ability. That A1 ability hit for about 1.5 million damage. That's crazy. That is crazy levels of damage. But the nice thing is not only is his A1 ability hitting for that damage, but he's also getting Obro to join in on his attacks. So you can see here that when he attacks, Obro's going to have a chance to join. Not a chance. She's going to join in, right? So his A1 ability brings the champion in with the highest crit damage. He also has some counterattack abilities in his kit. So he's a crazy good champion. But there's a few drawbacks, or not necessarily drawbacks, but a few things to be aware of before you decide to whale out, blow your monthly budget on going for this champion. Because since he's a faction unity champion, if you're wanting to really maximize the damage, you're going to need to bring in 3 faction allies. So in this case, it would be, for me, ideally, it'd be something like Krisk, Lazarius, and Sulfurion. Those 3 champions, if you had them, you are set. That is an amazing team. We have Lazarius for the block buffs, the increased turn meter, the increased attack, the strength, and all that kind of good stuff. We have Krisk for everything that Krisk does. And then we have Sulfurion for burns, res, and we can fill out the other roles very easily. Bring in Lydia for decreased defense. And then we have, let's see, 4 spots. We have 2 extra. We can fill those roles relatively easily, I believe. So this champion, if you have these faction ally champions, you're going to be more than set. I mean, he hits hard. Now, the benefits of having the 3 faction allies are pretty significant. So he's going to deal 20% extra damage for each debuff on the enemy, which stacks up to 100%. So pay attention to how much damage is dealt here on these 2 heads in the middle. They're weak affinity, so it may be weak hits, but hopefully not. Let's see. We're doing 629,000 damage. So 629,000 damage times 100% would double the damage, right? So we're doing 1.2 million. It's a double hit skill. So now instead of 1.2 million, we're doing 2.4 million damage total, which is crazy. But since I don't have Lizardmen to stuff in this team, I can't unfortunately get that, which is going to be something worth considering before going for him and getting overly hyped about him. I mean, out of 86 million damage, he did 29 million. Obro did 21 million damage. Obro, 6-star blessing. Teox, no blessing. So as you can imagine, if he got to 6-star crushing rend, he is going to be doing absurd levels of damage, and that's in Hydra. So before we get too much in the video, I want to talk about the build that I'm going to be using. He's currently in lethal plus a speed set. Not the most optimized build. Lethal plus cruel would be better, but his stats overall are 5,700 attack, 270 crit damage, and then nothing else even matters. Good speed. We have fully booked. Masteries are Helm Smasher. And then the pieces down here at the bottom, we have some extra speed and such. We could get some more attack percentage and such. But overall, once this dude gets taken up to like 4-star blessing, pick up Crushing Rend or whatever it may be for 4-star blessing. Actually, let's say 6-star blessing. 6-star Crushing Rend, he's going to be a monster. Say 4-star Soul Reap, you get an extra 750 attack and then 30% crit damage. He's going to be hitting super hard. So now, if we go look at the Lizardman faction, we have some top tier champions. So it's not like a faction where it makes no sense to actually go for these champions because none of the other champions are very good. Not necessarily high elves, but high elves in a way. A lot of these champions in the high elves faction, they're not great. So a champion like Finna is a little bit tricky to use, but there's some great teams with her. Whereas Lizardmen, my opinion, have some very strong champions, very strong contenders. We have Dracomorph, we have Necmo, we have Krisk, we have Sulfurion, we have Pythion, we have Ramantu. Now this is not just necessarily for Hydra, but also for the arena. We have Fushan for Clan Boss. We have Lazarius, incredible champion for this stuff. So we have a lot of very solid Lizardman champions. And then one of the top mythicals in the game being Lazarius. So if you have some of these lizards, then going for Teox, I think is just a no-brainer, especially since it's going to be on a fusion. I believe the fusion's a champion chase, right? Let's see. We got a champion chase. Yeah. So Sacred Shards, champion chase. You can get some fusion stuff as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be definitely worth it. Now, we have a showcase of Hydra there, but the areas where you're primarily going to use him is going to be Hydra as well as the arena. So now I want to jump in here and showcase some stuff in the arena because he has a very, very interesting thing on his kit, which I believe is going to cause an incredible amount of players to actually go for this champion because of this one key detail. So we're going to jump in against this team. I have Necmo in the lead. He gives a 30% turn meter increase plus a 30% increased speed, and he is in my Siphi's gear. So 378 speed Necmo coming into the meta soon. Hey, may just be happening. So we're going to throw him in here. And the reason for this is because, well, I want to go first. Now, there's a slight concern. If I place a bunch of debuffs, then Teox may boost turn meter and go before Ramen. He didn't, thankfully. But now we're getting some debuffs up. Really nothing to be impressed by whatsoever. But we're going to be able to smack with Teox. How hard is he going to be able to smack? I'm not going to kill a Duchess. But if we kill anybody, his 2-faction skill blocks revive. So we have 3 faction unities. We have everything, all the criteria met. Let's use this A3 ability. Boom, boom. Ursuga's dead. Kandrafon's dead. And now we got 2 champions who are really not a threat whatsoever, right? I don't care about either one of these champions. As far as the damage he's going to deal now, we're not going to do anything. Like, he's going to make Necmo join in. And then Necmo's going to boost some turn meter again. Going to decrease his stuff, and then let's use his A2 ability. We still have the increased attack, still have the increased crit damage. Unfortunately, we have the Hex on us. If you had a Python in this situation, you wouldn't have to worry about that. You just strip it, just cleanse it, no problem. We're going to try to strip them. Okay, strip the Duchess. It's the only one, unfortunately. Now, if they didn't have so much resistance, we could have definitely gotten some more damage across. But we do tons of damage. Like, he is hitting extremely hard. And this is not a squishy team whatsoever. This is a very tanky, very solid team. And Teox, no blessings, runs right through him. Now, the reason why I mentioned that he's going to be very popular in the meta is because his passive skill, when he has 3 faction allies, all allies are immune to sheep, which means Ramen, who a champion before basically is rarely used because of sheep and how often it happens. But now you have a situation where you can make a legitimate speed team. You can have Ramen strip. You can have Sulfurion break Stone Skin even. I don't have him, unfortunately. But if you have a high blessing Sulfurion, you could throw on the Incinerate blessing and then have his HP burn, Incinerate blessing, essentially removing Stone Skin, and then Teox going through and nuking Ramen, stripping, blocking actives or blocking passives. Awesome stuff. Never having to worry about polymorph whatsoever. Literally a meta-changing champion. But the issue is, he's not free to play friendly. Like, he himself, if you get lucky and pull him, okay, good. But now you have to have all these other champions to pair with him. In this case, we have one free champion in Ramen, but he's not free like very early. It takes a long time to get him. We have Necmo, who was a guaranteed a long time ago, but also the Taras just got deleted. Absolutely melted. Necmo was a guaranteed a long time ago. Krisk was in a tournament, but these champions are definitely not free to play friendly. Now, that's going to be a common theme you find with this. However, Python, he was a fusion champion. There's a lot of lizards who are very solid, but you can definitely make work. I just want you guys to know that if you're going for this champion, you're going to need those things if you really want him to shine. And if you're a player who has those things, man, this dude is going to be a monster for you. He's awesome. It's so hard. It's so good. So here we go. We're going to use the A2. We have decreased attack. Let's see if it kills the Duchess. That is crazy. I mean, these are some big hits against some teams that are very solid as well. All right, so let's try a match against MTG Jedi's team. This one may be faster than me as well, actually. The Siphi, okay, no, she's actually not faster. We're going to block their actives and passives. Now, when we're placing debuffs, it's actually boosting Teox's turn meter, which is awesome. So we're going to try to place some provoke on these champs, boost his turn meter some more, do the big A3. And the good thing is that now they're all block revive. Like, it is impossible to relay how significant this champion is going to be in the meta. Actually, it's not impossible. You can literally see it here. He is destroying teams like this, and these are fairly meta teams, and he's just making light work of them, basically. He's hitting extremely hard, blowing right through them, blocking revive on these Marichka teams. It's so good. Also, you don't have to build him extremely fast, because anytime you place a debuff, he's going to be getting his turn meter boosted. Like, this is probably the first faction unity champion that I'm considering actually going for. So we're going to go for a kill on Marichka. I mean, he's killing Marichka. That's not an easy task. With a block passives on the Siphi, a Hex as well. Unfortunately, Marichka comes back. Not a big deal. We technically have a lockout from Ramen too. And if you have a Lazarius, you have even more options to do. I don't have Lazarius, unfortunately, but if I did, I would 100% be using him. I want to get some more debuffs up on them, though, because there's no threat of polymorph. So there's no reason to not have as many debuffs as I can possibly have, right? So I'm going to try this one time against YST's team. We're not going to do any more showcases after this because it's honestly enough. I think you guys get the point. This dude is crazy good. We're going to strip everybody, hopefully boost his turn meter quite a bit, A3 ability. I mean, their block revived. So even if the Duchess survived, it doesn't matter. She can't res anybody. It's an extremely powerful kit. I don't think it needs any more explaining. But the issue is that he's gonna cost a lot of money, basically. He's a faction unity champion. He'll probably be in some Prism events. He will be in the boosted events. So you're gonna have plenty of chances of getting him. Whales and Krakens are 100% gonna get this champion. I want to get this champion as well. Let's do a quick recap on this champion. Amazing faction unity skills in a very solid faction for the two main areas he's going to be used in, Hydra and Arena. So very solid there. Very good for live arena potentially as well. And as far as his kit goes, his A1 makes the ally with the highest crit damage join his attack, which means Obero, your Varl, your Taras, your Harima, your Michinaki, whoever that is going to join his attack. And then his A2 ability attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense. For each debuff on the target, stacks up to 50%. And then each hit will also increase this champion's attack by 10%. So this actually reads as if one use of this increases it by 30%, which is crazy. Basically, 2 uses and he's capped. But either way, when you kill somebody, he gets an extra turn. And this ability hits very hard. 3-turn cooldown, very, very low cooldown. And then his A3 ability, which is an AoE attack, places increased attack and increased crit damage before attacking, and then an extra hit on enemies under any debuffs. The one lizard bonus is ignoring strengthen, ally protection, and shield. The 2 lizards bonus is placing block revive on a champion who had any debuffs on them. And then the 3 faction ally skills deals 20% more damage for each debuff on each enemy, as if he wasn't doing enough damage anyways. And then his passive, boosting his turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy or an ally receive a debuff. Now, this is something you do have to be careful with because it could cause him to get out of speed tune. Just make sure your champions are spaced out enough and that you're calculating for that. 1 faction bonus, 25% chance to counterattack when an ally is attacked by an enemy under a debuff. 2 faction bonuses, decreases the damage this champion receives from enemies under debuffs by 50%, and the damage allies receive by 20%. And then the 3 faction bonus, perfect for the arena, all allies are immune to sheep. This is incredible. This makes Ramen 2, a champion who we've not had much use for because of polymorph, become easily usable if you have the champions. And the champions I have are solid. If I had Sulfurion, I'd definitely use him instead of Krisk. Honestly, the Krisk in that team's not doing a ton necessarily, so I don't really need to use him. But for my situation, I think he's just the best lizardman that I have. Technically, I could use Fushan because he does do an AoE decreased defense somewhat, an AoE stun as well. So we have some more crowd control effects there. But for now, I'm just going to use Krisk. I don't have Draco. Krokmar is a very solid champion as well, so he could be a champion you could throw in somewhere. But there's a lot of good lizards. There's a lot of solid lizard champions who you could definitely make sense and put into this team. And if you had to, you just throw in a Venom Mage, I guess. But all right, guys, so thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, and best of luck going for this champion if you do go for it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.